Hey there, it's Kayla Brenseffner, and I'm excited to introduce you to the launch of Inside the Dream, the Right to Dream San Diego podcast. This is a new podcast within our family of podcasts that will give you an inside look into the Right to Dream San Diego Academy. From out on the pitch to inside the classroom, we'll introduce you to the staff, share stories from the building of the first class to the now how the announcement of the new U16 team will fit into the future plans and the growth and continued development of this Right to Dream San Diego Academy. In this episode specifically, you'll hear from head of school Rachelle Minix and head of character and inclusion Garner as they dive into what it takes to build a school and daily programming for our student athletes to grow and develop as young people. Make sure you subscribe to Inside the Dream, the Right to Dream San Diego podcast, wherever you find your podcasts.
Some ways I feel like I'm living a dream, to already. And there's definitely the next, echelon of that. But I grew up here. I played soccer. I never imagined that something like this would exist here.
1, 2, 3, family! We are joined by our head of school at Right to Dream Academy here in San Diego, Rachelle Minix, and our head of character and inclusion at Right to Dream San Diego, Garner. Guys, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Happy to have you all. So excited. This is our second Academy-specific focused podcast, and really excited to dive more into the roles and what you do here and what makes Right to Dream San Diego so special. So, Rachelle, I'll start with you. When we say head of school, I think everyone probably has a little bit of a picture of what that means, but I'd love to hear from you on what all that encompasses here at Right to Dream San Diego.
Sure. Well, I would say the first thing is that it allows me to work with really wonderful young people. And we'll get into that, I'm sure. But a lot of people ask, what goes on behind the scenes? What's it like? What's a day in the life? And I can't help but just talk about our kids. So I hope we spend a lot of time there. But in terms of my day-to-day, so obviously we're building the academy. So that's meant, founding a school, which is a huge privilege and exciting challenge. So we're starting in 6th and 7th grade this year, and then we're going to be all the way 6th through 12th grade. So it's hiring, it's, getting curriculum together, it's setting up classrooms, it's all of the things that come with starting a school, bringing in wonderful people like Brett. And it's also recruiting kids and participating with a football team kind of hand in hand to make sure that we have a holistic approach to the young people who come into our space. And then it's a lot of work just trying to ensure that this does really deliver on integration. So it's a lot of sitting in the intersections of not just the academics, but the sporting spaces, the character spaces, the residential spaces, and just making sure that when we say academy, it really is a single entity that moves together for the well-being of young people.
And a lot of that you've just mentioned includes the character side. So that leans on you, Brett. What does that mean for you on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, and Rachelle, I think you're selling yourself a little short. You actually built a school. When you hired me, there was just a hotel building.
Well, yeah. But
you actually built it with your
the school.
Yeah.
We did. We built furniture. We decorated. I mean, we did.
The decorations are incredible.
And shout out to Dr. Janet for that. She has some real skill in that arena.
Yeah.
So
if you ever come over here, this space, there's artwork everywhere, local artists all over the spaces, all of the schools, the classrooms are all named. So really, really well done in the space to just make it feel like a home. But for you, I would love to hear more about what does, character development look like within this programming? Yeah.
Really interesting question and a little bit challenging to answer, because I think what we realize is that what we aspire to be is that character is the through line of everything that we do. And that's both looks visible and invisible at many points in our day and in our planning and so forth. And so for me, when I think about what my job has evolved into, it's a lot of what kind of Rachelle said too, the integration of how does character sit in football? How does character bind football in school? How does character sit in school? How does it flow its way through residency and everything that we do, from the dining hall to how we travel to how we welcome guests onto our space to how we develop like mental performance skills that help us accelerate both on the field and in the classroom and in residency. And then when the kids go home, like how do their parents and their communities interact with them as well? So like, it's been a really interesting way to think about character because it doesn't look like just like a classroom setting.
Right.
Where we have the ability to do that because we had the kids live here full time. So we do have sessions that look intentionally designed to maybe like lift out some of those skills. But it really like the truth is that it just kind of like flows throughout our entire campus. And it's been kind of like an amazing opportunity for me to kind of sit with people like Rachelle and our other colleagues and like football staff to really think and plan intentionally about what that could and should look like. And so that's been like so fun. So it's both been like, what does our culture look like? Because character starts with the people that work with the young people first and foremost. And so it's been both a blend of like, I think when people think about it, it's like, yeah, it's not so much, I mean, it is a lot about teaching the kids, but it's also like developing the staff both as like a cohesive unit and a collective like group that is on the same page and aligned in the ways that we like teach and respond and interact with our young people. And then like that will eventually bleed down to our young people and their character will grow out of that. So yeah, it's like a very complicated thing to explain, but I think what I'm most proud of, and I'm sure we'll expand on more, is I think there's like some really intentional practice that we've done to build that both as like a staff and with kids.
Yeah, we'll definitely deep dive into that. Yeah. I can't wait to hear about that. But I think we're talking about Right to Dream San Diego and building that and everything that goes into that. But it helps to have the global framework, already so well documented in existence. How much, can you tell us about what you were able to take from, this entity, Right to Dream, and help you build out a new franchise here in San Diego?
So for sure, we do stand on the shoulders of giants, right? So what we are doing here, we can say we're founding and we're building and we're starting so many things that in some ways feel like we're building from scratch, but we're absolutely not. So I was fortunate, and our staff, more and more of our staff will be fortunate enough to visit our other academies across the globe. And I always think whenever you enter a space where there are young people, but the same is true for adult cultures as well, before anyone can tell you what they're about, you feel it. And so when you walk into a space, when you walk into Right to Dream Egypt, and when you walk into Right to Dream in Ghana, you feel something different. And we can unpack what are all the practices that get you there. But, the big takeaway that I felt from those experiences is I want people to walk on our campus, and when they meet our kids and our staff, I want them to feel this feeling of feeling purpose, of feeling like everyone there belongs, that it's a community, and that we welcome others into our community, and that we're, excited to grow, and we're curious. And yes, we have really aspirational things that we're going after, but we're humble in the seeking of those things, and that we're learners. And so that, in addition to some really hard practices in terms of like, here's how we built this. Here are the questions we asked. Here's how we staffed it. Here's the budget. Like those things that we were able to get. It was also those kind of bigger picture pieces that we wanted to emulate here. And of course, we could lean on 2 years ago when we were going, and I was sitting in the homes of aspiring student athletes, and we were talking about what we were going to build. It was absolutely of benefit to also be able to say, here's 25 years of results. Here are the players who have gone to play at the highest levels professionally. Here are the players who went to attend some of the best universities across the globe. Here's what they're doing now. And so we weren't just selling a dream without results. It was both.
How does it make you feel now? I feel like every time I speak to anybody who has the opportunity or the chance to interact with the students here in such a short period of time, that they feel that. Like they feel just how different, being around this group of kids are, and young people, as you always say, just like feeling that sense of like you're really developing so much more than just the soccer side. You're really developing like good humans.
Yeah. I mean, Brett could talk so much about, he's being humble because there are so many initiatives that he's put in place with great intention to build a foundation. But if you unpack Right to Dream's approach to development, it anchors in what they would call psychological safety. It anchors in creating an environment where the relationships are deep enough, where the trust is deep enough, where everybody in the space has the safety to try things that are actually quite hard, perhaps fail, but learn quickly and iterate and succeed. And so when you have that as kind of foundational mindset, and then you build practice around that to ensure it, it creates a space where you have young people who show up like they do quickly. And I think Brett and I have worked in schools for, decades. All of our staff actually who works in the school has worked with young people for decades. Our coaches have worked with young people. So these are not people new to this age and stage, but it takes everybody believing and committing to that. And kids will meet the bar wherever you set it. So when you see environments where maybe kids are not meeting what you would hope, it's actually because of the adults. So I'm so proud that, very quickly to align a bunch of people and to put a high bar, and kids will chase a high bar, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah. And I would just add, I think like one way that I think about it, and I think we've kind of like built it with the kids, is like, this is their home. I mean, if you really take in that perspective and like really think deeply about it, this is where they live. And there's not many places in the United States, certainly that aren't doing the performance part on the sporting side, but even in just a school-based side that are like housing kids at the ages of 11 and 12 years old, right? And so like, this is their home. And so you have to like think about their holistic development in that way. Like, from brushing their teeth to taking regular showers to
with soap.
To greeting visitors, because, our safety is important. And so they need to know who people are. I mean, those skills are like so transferable to any place that they go, both in the sporting space and like in life. And so, yeah, like when you just pause for a second and really just take in that like magnitude, like they live here, like full time, it's pretty like powerful, like thing to think about.
What kind of challenges, come with that too? We talk like, offline a little bit about like laundry and just things that people don't think about that are big parts of developing young people in your specific roles. Like what are kind of some of the challenges of having, basically a 24-hour running facility here?
Yeah, there's a lot actually, and a lot more that I've learned through the time here that I really didn't think about because I've never worked in a kind of a residency setting. I think some of the ones that come to mind that I share often with people are, one of the challenges is actually nutrition for me. When you think about at your house, like you have like immediate access to food generally from your parents at all times of the day whenever you're hungry, where our kids, while we have like an amazing performance kitchen, they're eating kind of more on a schedule than they've ever been. And two, they're eating high performance food that, first team players are eating regularly, and they don't necessarily come from houses, nor did I, where you're eating swordfish. and so they're looking at like the dining hall being like, this doesn't really like fit my appetite, right? Yeah. And so I think that has been something that has been like a work in progress and something that we're still exploring, like effective ways to have high performance nutrition, but also recognize that like kids come from different cultures and have different eating habits and different needs, and certainly at different times, right? And the amount of calories they burn on a day is like insane. So that's one that I love to share with people that I just didn't really think about. The other one that I think is like really fascinating to unpack is our boys' competitive level. You can imagine the type of kid that wants to be in a space like this is they're highly competitive. And then traditionally in schools that I've worked in, you want to remove competition in a lot of different ways because of kind of like the nature of your schools or the missions and visions of your schools, where we really want to embrace competition.
Yeah.
But with that, embracing competition, we have many places that we compete, not just on the pitch. And so like, how do you teach young people to like go really hard, but still love each other at the end of the day and get up every day and train super hard, make yourself better, but also not take things offensively or not take it over the edge. And that can look like a training to like a simple kickball game to like, I've run like some activities that have just gone like overboard, but it's great learning moments to like kind of untangle what it's like to compete with brotherhood is the word that we use. And so that's been like, that's been a work in progress and something we've leaned into heavily. And we just want to embrace that because we know for them to chase their dreams, they need to have that kind of level of intensity and competition. But that also shows up in different ways in different spaces, and kind of teaching them how to kind of adapt to that has been. something that I don't think a lot of people think about, but has been an awesome journey.
Yeah. And we talk about that with the first team all the time. Is like they embrace competition every single day. And you've got, 19-year-olds competing with 35-year-olds and dealing with that. But they've been in this space for a long time. And you're training, 11-year-olds and, on up, and to be in this space in a 24 hours a day is really interesting.
Yeah, I took
really
them bowling one time and, I had this genius idea that I was going to create this like competition in bowling, and it just like one thing went south and the whole thing went south. And I was like, all right, we're done bowling. We got to go. Like, we need to think about how we show our like competitiveness in public spaces, you know what I mean? And especially spaces that aren't like the pitch. And so like, it's that, and it's really beautiful to see because I love the competitive kid, but you can imagine a space where, maybe it goes a little over the edge when they're like competing.
One thing that I think has been a beautiful way to learn from those moments is circle. So we have many practices in place, but one signature practice is that we have circle at least twice a week. And that's with our whole community. So every day we have a moment where we are all together. And it takes different forms, but an opening circle on Monday and always a closing circle on Friday. And then there are moments in between where we also have check-ins. And a lot of that is done proactively just to build community, right? Everyone has a voice. Everyone shares. The topics range. But it's also a responsive tool. So, right? So like when we have a moment like over competitiveness in bowling, we actually get to come back and we use circle as a reconvening to reflect on what happened and to co-create, okay, what is the new learning that comes from that? What are our new commitments to each other? Because the type of environment we want to build is not top down. They are very active participants in what we're making. And so they have to learn from those moments. They have to realize that didn't feel good, or I could have done that a different way. They have to resolve, and we support them, of course, in resolving conflict. I will say, there's only 19 right now, so 19, 12, now 12 to turning 14-year-olds in a space 24 hours a day who are highly competitive. Like, we have very few conflicts.
It's amazing.
Like, it is an enormous credit to them. But when they do arise, their ability to also take ownership and be accountable and reflective and to also love each other. Like, we've had guys had to take real accountability to the group and say, hey, when I did this, I wasn't thinking in the moment, or I did this and it was hard for me to take accountability because I was worried, you wouldn't like me. And to have them then be embraced after hard moments like that, and to teach young people and young men to talk about their feelings and to have those spaces be safe is how they're learning, and why a huge piece. It's not the only reason, but it's part of why you feel what you feel when you meet these student athletes.
And that's
they're doing the work, right?
Totally.
That's what I was going to say that points to you and a lot of the work that you were doing. What are some examples of some of those? I love the circle example that you just brought up. As some more examples of what you're doing with these student athletes to help facilitate an environment like that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think one of the most amazing things about our culture is that there are like visible signature strategies and practices that we do that elevates all of this.
Across all campuses, all globally.
I think there's like maybe some through lines in some spaces, but I think we also have had like a lot of our own like kind of flavor and style to what we do here. So a couple.
I was going to say, I think two things that are true universally around Right to Dream is the methodology, which is a common language and through line for us, and our shared values.
Yeah, values. For sure.
And we have adopted the global values here. And what Brett's about to get into is really how are we then translating that into practice? Because we've all been in places where the value language lives on the wall, and that is the extent of it, right? So it's how do you live it? And I think,
can you share what those values are with our audience too?
So globally, we have 5 core values that we like untangle and make visible and reflect on and share and feedback, which is teamwork, it's diversity, it's development, integrity, and you're putting me on the spot, and passion. And so our 5 core values is like, our framework for what we do so many of our things. And that is really truly shared across all of our Right to Dream Academy. So I get the pleasure of meeting with our, every academy has a global lead or a character lead, And then we have a global character lead. And so once a month, I meet with them to share practice, to better understand what's happening in Ghana, what's happening in Egypt, share the work that we're doing. So it is really like also a fascinating thing to think deeply about. Like there's like a global community out there that's all supporting each other in different countries with different time zones, with different people with different backgrounds and so forth. So it is amazing. Here in San Diego, like Rachelle said, I think like when you think about building culture, psychological safety is like the foundation. It is the part of our like the first part of our methodology. And for us, we kind of like the interchangeable word is belonging. And my definition of it, which is really like where people feel the freedom to express their true self, right? And so if you can create that, you're really building that foundation for like really accelerated learning. But without that, it's very hard to achieve accelerated learning in any of the spaces. So one of the fundamental signature practices is circle. And it's a really simple strategy, but it's really, we meet in circle as a group. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Monday and Friday, all staff participate. And so some of the signature elements of a circle is that like you literally are using the shape of a circle. Everybody's sitting at the same eye level. Everybody is participating. So we use talking pieces. So there's like, everybody shares, everybody listens. And so over time that builds the habit and the like kind of safety to be able to share what you're thinking. And we change the flavor of the questions. We change the flavor of the activities to keep it like highly engaging. But the circle structure itself, it's the symbol of community. And that's where we meet. That's where we proactively do things. That's where we problem solve when things don't go as they should. And that's where like character development happens for staff and for kids. And so I just want to make sure that that's also really like something that I think we would both express is that like our staff are developing from those spaces just as much as our kids are, because we're doing it all together. And it doesn't look like, Mr. Brett just telling everybody what they should do, or Dr. Rachelle or Coach Mauricio. It's like, collective creation, which is what community is generally like the basis of any community. So the circle itself is like a signature practice that we do.
I think you should talk about advisory, and I have pictures.
Oh, yeah. I love this.
Well, advisory is
I don't know if you'll be able to see the pictures. You should definitely talk about advisory.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I was talking to one of our scouts yesterday, and they said that they had some like take home projects that they were showing. Like, this is something that I'm working on for myself to develop. I don't know if that's part of.
Okay. So first of all, we all have our own advisory.
Okay. Show it to the camera this way.
Shout out to the Hive Hunters.
The Hive Hunters.
Where's the camera? Oh, okay. Over wherever the camera is. I'll send you these pictures. You can. So we all have names. We have colors.
Oh wow!
This is Don Leon Crab.
They're wearing crab suits.
You could talk more about this, but the pictures are going to really hammer home the point here.
Maybe we can put these up on the video version.
I'll show you. Good branding on this one. This is Apex Alliance. That's
my advisory, baby.
That's his advisory.
All right. So tell us about what the advisory is.
So like kind of like our signature strategies of character development, it weaves through the week. So like Monday is a circle and we kind of all get on the same page. We do some community building. Tuesday, we do mental performance. So our circle always has kind of a mental performance, both connected to football and to school and residency. Wednesday, we do like kind of strategic character development. So some examples of that would have been like peer conflict. And so we'll sit together and we'll talk about peer conflict. This last period, we talked about competing with brotherhood. So we'll do it. It's like active, more topical based things. So then Thursday is advisory, which has become like probably like our favorite thing on campus. And so advisory is like is a strategy that's used by most schools where basically you're shrinking your school and student staff into little cohorts and pods where you're developing deeper relationships with a smaller group of people. So you take the team concept that exists in, let's say, a circle or like out on the pitch, and then we have these little like teams inside of our community, and we do many things in those spaces. But advisory is like has a lot of like kind of tentacles to it. So like one of the signature pieces is we have this competition every period, and we have 5 periods in our school year where it's called the Dreams League, and so we compete for our advisories to win the Dreams Cup. But what's really cool is that kids and staff, their advisories can earn points in residency. They can earn points in school. They can earn points on the football field. So like, for instance, we do dorm checks every Wednesday. So based on how your advisory performs in dorm checks, you get points towards your advisory. In Circle, we do competition. So we just did like this epic one where we're learning how to introduce ourselves to like guests. So we call it Steal a Dreams League Thought, which is like after Steal a Brain Rot, or the game Roblox, like they all play. So we do all these competitions all week long, where we're competing with each other, and then we have this like awesome celebration at the end of every period to like anoint the winner. Unfortunately, like Apex is the most hated advisory, but we've never won.
Is that the one that you're on?
I've never won.
Which one are you a part of?
We are the first ever winners of the Dreams Cup at Right to Dream San Diego. So
which advisory
if we
group are you
never
a part
win
of?
again, we at least have that as a
What's your advisory name?
Right. Well, it's a secret now, but we've rebranded.
secret
but
advisory.
We do have a little secret hand signal.
But every advisory has a name. It's like a combination of 3 animals. So like we're the Apex Alliance, and we were the lions, gorillas, and falcons all into one. So we thought we were like the apex of all the little like animal kingdoms. But it's so fun. We meet every Thursday morning from 10 to 10:40 as an advisory, and I'll sometimes have design tasks. We might do a trivia that we compete against each other, so we're all in different spaces. And then we also do like a lot of like kind of social emotional support. So like I'm there to kind of connect with my kids. I'm really connected to their families. So it's a way we break down the infrastructure of like parent communication. So I'm really connected. I'm connected to all of our families, but I'm really connected to my advisory. So if they ever have needs about their kids, they can hit me up. Like if they haven't called home in a while or whatever. So I'm very, very like in frequent communication with them. And so are all the advisors as well. So it's another way we tackle kind of parent relationship development and how we can kind of, overcome the challenge and making sure that parents have a really visible kind of like understanding and like someone to communicate with in our space. It's just like amazing. It's so fun. And like our staff loves it. Like I think it's one of the like signature things we do.
We talked last summer before everything launched, and we were like, should we have our football staff be a part of this? Because it's so normal in schools. And it could get tricky, right? Because there becomes a point where there's evaluations on the field or there's evaluations in the classroom, and people might have feelings about it. But if you do it right, and this was part of our discussion, those will still be safe conversations to have. Mm-hmm. And so we've paired somebody from school with somebody from the coaching staff for all of these advisories. And these advisories will grow. So next year, when we add another generation of student athletes, we'll just add a few more kids to each of the existing advisories, and we'll continue to just kind of grow out not only our relationship as staff with the kids, but the kids across generations with each other. So our older kids can become mentors to new kids who are coming in, whether they're older or younger. And just, again, just create community in so many ways. So
that's really cool, because I think that shows how interwoven athletics are within also academics, especially within the Right to Dream ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And one of the things when we talked to Jeff about on the last episode for the Academy podcast was pathways. And I think when people think of pathways, generally they think of like the pathways to the pros, but I think what he was expressing was, pathways are all different, types. They're not linear. And we look at what our first team looks like now. And we've got, kids that have come through and graduated from college and gone the college route to the pros. And you're basically like kind of looking with these athletes and building what their pathways are going to look like to the future, in whatever that may be, in whatever capacity, where success leads them to be. Yeah. What does, that look like to you as you're building out this curriculum and working with these young people?
Totally. So there will be nothing more exciting than seeing these young people achieve the dream they have for their unique pathways. And our job, not just I think, but we believe our job is to equip them with, the tools, whether those are academic tools on the pitch, all of that, but the mindsets, the habits, all of that, to pursue with full rigor and excitement, whatever those pathways are. And we're very, very fortunate to be in a situation where we have an ownership that believes in those pathways with equal vigor too, right? So if a child who's excelling on the pitch chooses college as their pathway, that will not be seen as anything but a win. And that is just a really special place to be. And so I think just starting with really strong foundations in middle school, in all senses, but in the classroom is very important. So there's, when you think about soccer uniquely as a game, it's one of the most fluid games. It's one of the longest games you can play in terms of minutes without breaks. No one's calling plays for you. you have to be in the moment. You have to be creative. You have to think critically. You have to collaborate with all these people. You have to adjust when conditions change. It's all of the things that you want young people doing in the classroom. You want them communicating. You want them thinking critically. You want taking different perspectives. So those are the same habits that we're also looking to build in our classrooms that are enforced or reinforced on the field. And so starting with live instruction where it's super engaging, everyone's activated, you have to work together, you're getting a ton of feedback in the moment. That's really important to us. So our middle school model is very hands-on. That in-person instruction and the relationships it builds, the feedback you get from peers as well as teachers is, I think, a critical part of building the foundation. As we grow into the high school model, which is exciting because we're actually going to be doing that starting next year. One of the things I got to figure out our tagline, so I need some branding help on this.
We got you.
Because I think I'm about to make an NCAA infringement. So, but this idea, like all of our kids are going pro, 100%. Some of them will become pro on the pitch, but all of them will become professionals, and many of them want to become professionals in the sporting arena. And I think about your job. I think about all of these jobs that we have in the ecosystem of professional sports that frankly, even before entering the space, I wasn't even aware of some of them. And so our young people, putting them in positions where they're not just academically prepared, but they're also exposed to and supported in these professional pathways is going to be part of our high school design. So yes, it's an accredited school. Yes, they're going to take all of their required coursework to graduate high school, college eligible, but they're also going to pursue what we're calling pro pathways. So maybe you're interested in, being a sporting director or being the CEO of a club one day. Well, you might go into the business and law professional pathway, and you're going to take different electives. You're going to have a different internship. You're going to do different types of community service than somebody who wants to go into media and entertainment. And they are going to have equal exposure to the professional pathway, but in a different form. So we think about using this really unique environment to just be an asset and give opportunity and exposure really on and off the pitch.
Sounds like we're going to have some shadows in our future.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm very excited about that.
FYI.
You're like, warning in advance.
Upper management has committed everyone in the club to accepting an intern at some point. We love that.
Absolutely.
So there'll be an application process. You'll get to pick all of that. That won't start next year. It'll be it'll happen in 11th grade for them, but it'll be exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
For both of you, I want to hear, kind of what is your dream within this program? Like what do you hope either for yourself or to witness as a part of being a part of this organization? Like kind of what is your dream that you've realized through being a part of this?
That's a really great question. I think like when I look back like 10 years from now or 15 years from now, I think it's really what Dr. Rachelle just said. It's like, did we create the opportunities for kids to realize their dreams and their best self? Like when you think about character, like that's our local brand definition of what character means is for you to be your true self. And that's, in order to do that, we have to provide them multiple opportunities for them to discover themselves. And that's just beyond the pitch. That's just beyond math class. Like that's really thinking holistically about a kid. And so my dream is always like when a kid is 25, they're being successful, they're doing something that they love and they're doing something that they're passionate about. Whatever that might be, like that my whole career has always felt like success. And so I think, if we look back and like Kyle and Lewis or like Chino, like they're doing things that I see the same joy as a 12-year-old coming into the circle room in a crab outfit that they're doing 25 years later. Like I'll be like, damn, we did some good work. You know what I mean? And I think that's every educator's or like anybody that works with young people, like that's what you want for them is for them to like feel like they're themselves, but doing something that they're passionate about.
Yeah. All that.
Plus one.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, I hope this doesn't come off as selfish. Some ways I feel like I'm living a dream, to already. And there's definitely the next, echelon of that. But I grew up here. I played soccer. I never imagined that something like this would exist here. And so it almost makes me want to be emotional, but I won't. I'll save you. I'm getting old. But to think about being able to create opportunities for young people here in this community that I think can really generationally impact their futures and the futures of people who come after them is significant. And to play a small piece in that and to have our team be able to possibly play a small piece in that feels like a dream. I think working in traditional and public charter schools for 20 years, I've always wished that all kids had opportunity to realize the things that they were capable of and wanted. I wish that they had good nutrition and a safe place to sleep and great exercise and good teachers and good coaches. And unfortunately, that's not true universally for everybody. So I think to create a space where we've taken cost out of the equation and opened up the playing field for all kids is so important. And I think bigger than what we immediately do is if we can show that creating an environment like this and investing in young people in this way also yields the results that a lot of people look for in terms of, university matriculation, player contracts, health and happiness, then I hope it also calls us to systemically question our current approach to not just sports, but like youth development in schools and sporting systems. And so I think large scale, I would hope that we could be part of a catalytic movement in that way.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I could talk to you all forever, but I have no better way to probably wrap our conversation than those beautiful words. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And everything.
We'll polish
the work
up
you do
so we can become regulars,
Yeah.
So important.
There's so many, I think this is just an amazing opportunity to make so visible how insane and awesome this culture is for young people and for staff. This is a complete dream job. I think for me, I only speak for myself. And so the stories that come out of this place, the activities we do are just epic, the way people participate. So yeah, hopefully we can join the show again and share some more stories about this spot.
And pictures.
Much more to come.
We have lots of pictures. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
For having us.